So the best I can do to make sense of that poem is that it's a mutual cognitive hallucination. And now the thing you have to think about is whether there's something more real about a mutual cognitive hallucination shared amongst a group of people. There's something more real than the functional attributes view of social ontology. The things I need to know more about Searle's. And the good thing about what Searle did with that was the vocabulary and the notation. And I need to understand a bit more about that before I can really say what I mean. But I have a sense the sense I have is that Searle describes something which is a formal, maybe a formal cause of social ontology. But what we might have done if we have created a mutual cognitive hallucination is we might have a material and efficient and final cause as well. I think that'll do as a note. And you'll have to find the beautiful girl that I saw 2 minutes before I saw the cat and see what she says. So, a few more things. This idea of mutual, what did I call it? Mutual cognitive hallucination. The thing is, it can work forward and backward in time. And your aim in creating some kind of economy was was final cause. The final cause being your existential basis for life. It's like something that you assemble through history so that you get some kind of convergence point. And the thing about it is you don't have to get it right, because you're defining both the shooter and the target. So this idea of getting synchronicity of cultivating a kind of society in which synchronicity is common, because it's synchronicity that makes something seem efficient and wonderful. So you want a society which cultivates synchronicity. And the way you should do that is by not worrying too much about the order in which things happen. You have certain goals you want to achieve, and you don't have to achieve them in a particular order. If you're an individual and you're all on your own, yeah, you do. You have to get the money, then you can build the house. But if you're a cooperative society, or a cooperative society of cooperative societies, then you can choose the order in which you want things to happen, to be the order in which they just happen to happen. And for this you want to be able to construct, even if it's after the fact, construct these cognitive hallucinations, mutual cognitive hallucinations, so that you look back and say, well, that must have been what I was planning to do all along. But this is why communication and flexible society is a good thing, because you can change the order in which you do things. It doesn't make a big difference. Whereas if you have to have all the capital before you do anything, you impose a linear structure on goals and you can't grow, you can't do anything if it doesn't happen for you. And it's very easy for some people just to, it never happens for them. But if you take that away, then it doesn't matter what order things happen in, and it becomes much less important. There, I think that'll do. And one more addendum. The same sort of idea works for love. If you think of the relationships you have and the different kinds of relationships you have throughout your life, they didn't have to happen in that order. And it's really the economic structure around marriage which makes for a fortunate love life or not. So now go back and listen to the Karma, or read the Kamina Purana again, and read Aristotle's Economics, because the two have got a lot to do with each other. And then once you've ironed out love and wealth, life itself becomes interchangeable. When I used to think about reincarnation, I hated the idea because, well, I didn't hate it, I just thought it seems a bit rough. I mean, you live this miserable life in the hope that someone will live at some other time your life as it should have been lived. But I just couldn't believe that that was the same as your body living that life. It's just entirely abstract. The body doesn't feel an idea, an identity doesn't feel things. It's the body that feels things. It's the body that lives. Reincarnating the idea of someone doesn't do anything for them. And you can't do it, because you never have a complete idea of them. So once you dissociate the different parts of a person, the different motives or streams of consciousness that compose them. They don't all have to be reincarnated in the same next person. They can be, and once you have something like an equality of being, which should be what you assume. I think that was Abraham Lincoln's idea of applying those geometric principles to human beings. You should assume that they are, and then you should aim to make that an invariant of whatever system you create. And actually, I think that's how Euclid works. It's simply an assumption to start with those 5 common notions. But I think that throughout the whole course of the thing, he eventually produces a proof that indeed those things are invariant throughout the geometry. So, no, I'm waffling now, I better stop. I don't have to, do I? Because in 2012, I spent quite a long time thinking about Laura Pausini and wondering how it is that how are you supposed to meet the person you were meant for in such a huge world without communications? But if you have society trying to do that matching as part of its normal operation, it would be fine. And I had this kind of nightmare. It was a waking nightmare that Laura Pausini and I were 2 parts of something a long, long time ago, and we got cut up and destroyed and torn to pieces. And the parts have been trying to find each other ever since. And then I thought maybe we go on forever like this. Maybe this is the fate of, I don't know, Adam and Eve, or I would have liked to have had somebody to talk to about that. But for all of 2012, that was the only kind of life I could construct for myself. That was the only being I could imagine. 2012 was not a very good year. Another thought, those 5 common notions or self-evident truths, if you want. There's a sense in which you can reverse them and then apply them by coincidence if you consider the thing and the knowledge of the thing, or the person and the knowledge of the person. So if you say that the 5th is the whole is greater than any of the parts, you can turn that into the 1st in a way by thinking about what you know about people when you say that they are equal. You say 2 things each equal to another, or equal to each other, things equal to each other. Well, the fundamental sense in which you could take that to start with, when you you talking about people is that you don't know everything about the person. Because what you know about people depends on your social context. So, you typically don't have carnal knowledge of your business partners. This may not hold for the case of Freemasonry, but perhaps they needed to expand their idea of equal. So, anybody's knowledge, when you say that these truths we hold to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, you don't mean it's evident to any particular person. But I don't know, this second thing was written by Freemasons to start with, and I'm not sure that they really had a very good grasp of Euclid, but never mind. Maybe the aim was to produce a race that did have a better grasp of Euclid. But you're not expecting that to be evident of each individual person. The way in which it's self-evident is that it's self-evident that in any society which is going to function properly, this needs to be held to be the case. So that's the sense in which you need to somehow separate your knowledge of the person from the person, because your knowledge of the person is never complete. You come into another context and you learn something new about somebody. You can know somebody at work for years and years and think they're a bit of a jerk, and until you join the same butterfly collecting club, and you suddenly realize that this person you thought was a bit of a jerk is a widely known, highly respected butterfly collector. I'll go and read John Fowles. Oh my God, never mind. Fucking literature really screws you up. I think that's enough for now.